You are the most important relationship. Before you swipe, text, or worry about being too much, start with you. Grow Therapy helps you build self-worth, set boundaries, and show up as your full self. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow makes it easier to find a therapist who fits you, not the other way around. They connect you with thousands of independent licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. You can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, identity, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. And if something comes up, you can cancel up to 24 hours in advance at no cost. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your time. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Grow accepts over 100 insurance plans, including Medicaid in some states. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/booknow to get started. That's growtherapy.com/booknow. growtherapy.com/booknow. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
This is Embrace Your Inner Boldness, a podcast about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. I'm Melissa Henning Frank, coach, guide, and founder of Becoming Bold. I help you strip away the conditioning, reclaim your voice, and rise into the power that's always been yours. Let's get right to it. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Have you ever had one of those moments where you look at your life and you think, how did I end up this version of me? Maybe it's just a quiet realization that somewhere along the way, the bold kid that you used to be got buried under expectations, survival strategies, and just trying to fit in. And we don't slow down enough to really look back and truly see how far we've come. Today, I want to share a little bit about my origin story and how life led me here. When I take a moment to slow down and really look at my life now and the work I do with Becoming Bold, I can actually trace a timeline of how I started finding my way back to myself. And a big part of that journey has been learning to see the human behind the behavior, both in other people and in myself. And that's why I do what I do. My resilience carved a steady path, and I feel like everything that happened was meant to happen so I could help others who can relate to this. When I was a kid, mindset and imagination were survival tools. I grew up in a really chaotic environment, and one of the ways I stayed hopeful was by finding something, anything to look forward to. Sometimes it was something tiny, like a brand new pair of socks, which is something that people normally don't get excited about. But my brain would grab onto that thing and the excitement of it, and it helped me keep going. I didn't know it back then, but I also somehow knew it was important to calm myself down. I call that nervous system regulation now, and back then I did this by closing my eyes and envisioning happy scenes, imagining what could be, or I'd spend time drawing or writing poems or somehow being creative. I'd get into my own little world, and my mom would call me a free spirit, quiet, shy. And yes, I was and am again a free spirit. And yes, I presented as quiet and shy, but those last two were the masks that I had to wear to stay safe as a kid. And they followed me into adulthood because they were so ingrained. I also talked to myself in a way that was powerful and protective. So when my dad called me names or told me I was incorrigible, which is one of his favorite things to tell me I was, my brain would immediately push back with, no, I'm not. I wouldn't say that out loud, of course. That would not have been in my best interest. It was a voice inside my head that helped counteract a lot of the verbal abuse. A lot, but not all. I would tell my brother to do this too, to think about puppies and kittens when the energy in the house was volatile. I'd tell him to believe that the words being hurled at us were untrue. And that little girl, the one smack dab in the middle of an adverse childhood, understood something important, that just because someone says something about you doesn't make it true. And looking back now, I realize that kid had tools and internal resources that a lot of adults spend years trying to relearn. But then puberty hit, High school hit, and my self-esteem took a really big nosedive. I feel like that was possibly one of the more dark eras of my life. The mental tools from my younger years didn't fully disappear, but they weren't at the front of my mind anymore. My defense mechanism as a teenager became rebellion and sassiness. I had a huge wall up, I had a tough shell, and honestly, a pretty rude exterior sometimes, especially towards people I thought were a threat to me or someone I cared about. And what people saw was attitude, but what was actually happening was protection. Not everybody got to experience Melissa with an attitude, but she was definitely there when she felt endangered. And that protective exterior was armor, which actually did serve me really well when I joined the army. I was the ideal soldier until my rebel mask came back. And I've talked about that on one of my earliest episodes. But my gosh, all of those masks. It's so clear to me now that the wounds are healed and I've burned all the masks and personas that kept me safe but aren't needed anymore. And this is one of the reasons I care so much now about seeing the human behind the behavior and teaching others how to do this too. Most behavior makes sense when you understand the story underneath it. Another obstacle I carried for a really long time was money mindset and worthiness. The stories around money in my childhood were powerful and not in a good way. Things like, rich people think they're better than us. Rich people are assholes, and we can't afford that. Those messages get wired into your brain early. They quietly shape what you believe you deserve, what feels possible for you, and even how safe it feels to succeed. On top of that, poverty itself was a real obstacle. I couldn't participate in extracurricular activities that cost money. I couldn't advance in competitions if they required travel outside the county. So there were a lot of moments growing up where I felt like opportunities were just not for people like me. The environment itself also shaped how I saw the world. There was so much negativity, paranoia, and abuse around me, and it created this underlying belief that everything in life was stacked against us. In my family, we even joked about something called the Henning curse, like bad luck and struggle were just part of who we were. And when you grow up around that kind of narrative, it can become your lens for the whole world. You start expecting things to go wrong. Substance abuse was also a constant presence in my life growing up. It was everywhere. And looking back now, I'm honestly grateful that I didn't end up addicted to the things that so many people around me were struggling with. That could have easily been my path. But for whatever reason, something in me kept pulling me towards growth instead. Then there was the conditioning from Catholic school. I was such a curious kid. I asked questions. I wanted to understand things. And I remember being told more than once that I was blaspheming for asking certain questions. Imagine being a curious kid and being told that curiosity itself is wrong. That leaves an imprint. That reinforced that voice from my dad that told me I was incorrigible. I was taught that thinking too deeply or asking too many questions made you bad and could get you in trouble. So as I got older, I started wearing masks. Lots of them. At different points in my life, I was the rebellious girl with the tough attitude. Then I became the corporate chameleon who figured out how to blend in and climb the ladder. I wore the people pleaser mask, the overachiever mask, the nice girl mask, the tough girl mask, the easygoing, likable girl who wasn't like other girls mask, the hyper independent mask that said, I don't need anyone, and sometimes even the peacekeeper mask, just trying to keep everyone around me calm. At the time, those masks were survival strategies. They helped me navigate environments that felt unpredictable or unsafe. But eventually, I started noticing something. The masks were terribly exhausting. When things started shifting and changing for me in my adult life, it wasn't because of one magical moment happening. It was because I started becoming aware. I started envisioning my future self and asking a simple question all the time. What would my future self do right now? And instead of waiting to become that version of me someday, I started practicing being her. I also started interrupting negative thoughts the moment they appeared. If I felt self-doubt creeping in, for example, or if I caught myself telling an old story about not being good enough, I would literally say out loud, "Wait, I don't do that anymore." It sounds simple, but it rewires things. Our brains run old programs unless we interrupt them. This is actually a new one for me, and I love how it's working. I also started taking better care of myself physically, paying attention to what I was eating and what my system was responding to, what supplements helped me, skincare, hair care, things that seem small but were actually signals to myself that I matter. I started paying attention to my environment and my orbit. Who energizes me? Who drains me? What environments make me feel powerful and which ones make me feel like I have to shrink? And when things didn't go how I wanted them to go, instead of spiraling into shame, guilt, or feeling like I was in trouble or telling myself I failed, I started saying something different. I'd say, well, that didn't go how I wanted it to go, so I'll make adjustments for next time. That shift alone keeps me moving forward versus my nervous system freaking out and feeling like I was in trouble. When I really zoom out and look at my life, I realize something interesting. The framework I now teach through Becoming Bold, the Bold Bridge, is actually something that I started doing subconsciously long before I ever named it. Break through barriers, own your impact, lead with courage, design your future. Contemplate, consider, change. Look at what's happening in your life. Understand why it's happening, and then make intentional changes. That process became the bridge between the person I was and the person I wanted to become. The Bold Bridge is really about helping people see the gap between who they are today and who they want to be, and then walking that bridge intentionally. It's also about recognizing the masks you've been wearing and deciding which ones you're ready to burn. Most of us are walking around wearing masks we created to survive environments that don't even exist anymore. The rebel mask, the people pleaser mask, the perfectionist, the tough girl, the corporate mask, the invisible mask, the hyper independent mask. At some point, you gotta ask yourself, do I still need this? And that's the work I'm passionate about now, helping people see the human behind the behavior, helping them understand where their beliefs, their reactions, and their masks came from, and then helping them walk their own bold bridge as many times as they need so they can burn the masks that no longer serve them. Shifting your mindset to focus on how you want things to be, being mindful how you talk to yourself and the stories you tell yourself, embracing your inner boldness instead of pushing her down out of fear. Boldness isn't something that you suddenly become. It's something that you remember. That little kid version of you probably knew exactly who they were before the world told them who to be. The work now is remembering that person and having the courage to live from that place again. I have loads of free resources for you because I am so passionate about this work and I believe in it. The links to all the things are in the show notes. And if you're a woman sick of tolerating less than you deserve and you're looking for connection and community, come join us in Women Becoming Bold, the community. It's free. Keep becoming you. And until next time, please be kind to your mind. That's it for today's episode of Embrace Your Inner Boldness. If this stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Screenshot this episode, tag me at Becoming Bold LLC, and share it with someone else who's ready to rise. And hey, if you haven't already, take a second to subscribe, rate, and review the show. That's how we spread the boldness and keep this movement growing. Whatever came up for you today, feel the fear and do it anyway. You don't need to wait for perfect timing or permission. You are powerful. You are ready. And remember, the only limit to your boldness is the one you set for yourself. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and keep becoming you.